The UFC returns this upcoming Saturday, May 16th, for its 13th event in a row. 13 straight weeks of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but it unfortunately also means that 1, there's an off week next week, and 2, it's back in the Apex, the warehouse in the desert. However, the main event is a very intriguing and very important featherweight clash, as we will see Arnold Allen taking on Melquizael Costa, someone in need of bouncing back and riding the ship in their career versus someone who is riding the biggest stretch of momentum and victories in their career so far. For Arnold Allen, he currently finds himself at number 7 in the world at 145 pounds, one of the most stacked, deepest divisions in the UFC currently in 2026, but has also not been finding as much success as of recent, because we can't forget that he started his UFC career 10-0, and on April 15th of 2023, he would be in a title eliminator matchup essentially against former champion Max Holloway, and that fight and subsequent loss to Max Holloway would begin this rough patch for Arnold Allen, who finds himself entering UFC Vegas 117, having lost 3 of his last 4, including a fight that has already happened in 2026, that was in January at UFC 324, a 15-minute hard-fought decision loss against Jean Silva, and the other loss of the 3 was against Movsar Evloev, so it's not like he's losing to bums. He's losing to a former champion in Max Holloway, the number 1 contender and unbeaten Movsar Evloev, and Jean Silva, who currently sits at number 6 in the world, is likely 1 victory away from a title fight. And the victory that he has gotten in that period of time was in July of 2024 against Giga Chikadze, where he would also secure a decision victory. And most of the time when you see a lot of decisions on someone's resume, it's not always a great thing. It likely means that they're not really pushing for a finish and they might have some relatively lackluster outings, but for Arnold Allen, that's not really the case. Because out of his 24 professional fights, 13 of them have gone to the scorecards, with 9 of them being victories and 4 of them being losses, all 4 of his losses by way of decision, having never been finished, has the almighty Arnold Allen. But every single fight that he is in is an absolute dogfight where he is willing to go to war in order to get his hand raised. And being that Arnold is only 32, he is still in his prime, and he still has time to course correct his career and get back on the path toward title contention, in my opinion. He is very well rounded, he has a very good arsenal of weaponry on the feet, is relatively good in the facets of grappling and wrestling as well, and is just all around a very solid mixed martial artist to his core. And for his opponent, the number 12 ranked featherweight Melquizael Costa, he started his UFC tenure the complete opposite of Arnold Allen, where he would actually be 1-2 through his first 3 UFC bouts, with both those losses coming by way of stoppage, but since then has gone on to win 6 consecutive fights in a row, with 4 out of the 6 by way of stoppage. The win streak would begin in the summer of 2024 and runs all the way through to February 21st of this year at UFC Houston, which would be a TKO due to a spinning back kick against Dan Ige, someone who has perennially been ranked in the top 15 at featherweight, and prior to that was a knockout against the Pirate Morgan Charrier. And that win against Morgan would actually be the 4th victory for Costa in 2025, a 4-0 year that would have him sneak into the low-key fighter of the year category. But now this will without question be the biggest test of Melquizael Costa's career, and it is actually a fight that I called for to happen next for both of these fighters, and now here they are clashing in a main event. For Costa, this will be his first time headlining a UFC card, and for Allen, this will be his 3rd time being scheduled for 25 minutes. Obviously, when it comes down to schedule and level of competition, it is Arnold Allen by a landslide in that category, but momentum is very important and something to keep in mind when we are breaking down these fights, and that is not what Arnold Allen possesses, but it is exactly what Melquizael Costa has in his bag right now. And at 29 years old, he is just now getting ready to enter into those fighting prime years. With a record of 26-7, so although he's the younger man than Allen, actually holds 9 more professional bouts than his opponent, and has finished 17 out of his 26 wins, been finished in 4 of his 7 losses. Melquizael Costa is an all-action, must-watch fighter, as is his opponent Arnold Allen, and that is a recipe for success for us fight fans leading into this fight night card at the Apex, because this main event is going to deliver not only from a stylistic X's and O's perspective. Can Melquizael Costa get Arnold Allen down to the ground and utilize his very elite grappling and jiu-jitsu, or will Arnold Allen keep it standing and lead us to a 25-minute or less back and forth striking affair where Arnold will have the upper hand in the boxing, but it's not as though Costa is a novice when it comes to the striking as well. Just see the aforementioned knockout that he had against Ige. But then when you turn it up one more notch, it's number 7 versus number 12. Arnold Allen looking to remain in the elite discussions of featherweight, and Melquizael Costa looking to enter those elite discussions to improve his win streak to 7 in a row. And off the top of my head is probably the second longest win streak in this featherweight division right now, outside of one Movsar Evloev. This fight checks every box from a mixed martial arts perspective, in my opinion, and us fans are going to get a fight that delivers to us on Saturday night. But unfortunately for these two featherweights, the eyeballs may not be there because, one, they're in the apex of a fight night card that is not that good, and they're going head to head against the very first mixed martial arts fight card on Netflix, headlined by freaking Ronda Rousey. But I am very much looking forward to having both screens up at the same time because Costa versus Allen is going to be very fun, and again is a very high stakes bout for the state of the featherweight division and the people that are looking to press forward to title contention. So let me know what your predictions are for this main event down in the comments below. And as I stated in that main event breakdown, this fight card from top to bottom isn't the most stacked card of all time by any means, but there is one other pivotal ranked matchup on this card, and it is actually in the women's bantamweight division. And this isn't the first one of the year for the ranked matchups at 135 pound for the women, so things are looking up in this weight class right now, which is a great thing. And this specific fight will be between the number 5 ranked Ketlen Vieira and the number 11 ranked Jacqueline Cavalcanti. For Ketlen Vieira, she has essentially fought every single woman inside of the top 15 at women's bantamweight at this point, including the champion Kayla Harrison. Really, the only person that she hasn't fought is Amanda Nunes. But she enters UFC Vegas 117 off the heels of a loss to Norma Dumont in what was essentially a number 1 contender matchup that came last November, a unanimous decision, where Dumont at that point would pick up another victory on her massive win streak that has since been halted by Jocelyn Edwards. So the last win for Vieira was still in 2025, so we don't have to look that far back, and it was in May of last year against Macy Chasson. But for Ketlen, she's kind of been at this point in her career where she's trading wins and losses, dating back to May 21st of 2022, a victory against Holly Holm. Then she would lose to Raquel Pennington, who would go on to become the champion. Then she would defeat Pannie Kianzad. Then she would lose to Kayla Harrison. Then she would beat Macy and then lose to Norma. So now she's looking to continue this pattern and get right in her career, hold on to her top 5 spot, and pick up a win against someone who I believe is one of the most underrated, underappreciated ranked fighters, not only at women's bantamweight, but in the entire UFC. That is Jacqueline Cavalcanti. The 28-year-old nightmare out of Portugal is 10-1 as a professional mixed martial artist and 5-0 in the UFC since joining the promotion in September of 2023 after her success in LFA. And although she hasn't beaten the biggest of names in women's bantamweight as compared to Ketlen Vieira, she does hold notable victories over Nora Cornell, who currently sits at number 12 in the rankings, and Mayra Bueno Silva, a former title challenger. And that win against MBS would come in November of last year, 1 week after Ketlen Vieira would lose to Norma Dumont, and the only loss of Jacqueline's career would actually come in the PFL in March of 2022, and that was a razor-close split decision loss. Standing at 5'9", Jacqueline Cavalcanti is a very long, rangy, technical, precise striker who has shown that there are levels to the game on the feet against all 5 of her UFC opponents so far. However, she is lacking that big, emphatic performance and even a finish, and I think that if she can get that against Ketlen Vieira here at UFC Vegas 117, she will finally be put on the map and put herself in a position where she is only 1 win away from getting a crack at gold. And she's only 28 years old. She's just now getting ready to enter her prime, and she truly, in my eyes, is someone that can become a UFC Women's Bantamweight champion in the future because she's only going to continue to get better. She's not only going to continue to polish her striking, but she will continue to evolve in the other facets of her game that are lacking behind. All in all, she has 3 knockouts out of her 10 professional wins, but when the fights go to the scorecards, she is 7-1. So I'm actually very much looking forward to this because Ketlen Vieira is 34, still in those prime years, looking to hold on to that top 5 spot, but Jacqueline looking to improve to 6-0 in the UFC in what would be the biggest win streak in this division outside of Eileen Perez, and put herself amongst the elite contenders in this women's bantamweight division. And with Jocelyn Edwards having her massive win streak right now, just stopping the win streak of Norma Dumont a few weeks ago, Kayla Harrison looking as though she's back in training camp preparing for the Amanda Nunes title fight. It's good to see the wheels churning right now at women's bantamweight, a division that desperately was lacking attention in 2025 is already in a much better spot in 2026. As for the rest of the card, there's no other ranked matchups or big level names, but there are some fighters that I at least want to show some love to. The Korean Superboy Doo-Ho Choi is taking on Daniel Santos. That fight is likely going to be a fun featherweight scrap that ends in a finish. Malcolm Wellmaker is back looking to rebound from his first professional loss, that massive upset that he had against Ethan Ewing last November in Madison Square Garden. Modestas Bukauskas and Rodolfo Bellato are fighting for likely a top 15 spot at light heavyweight. And we have a sneaky debut on this fight card. The 11-0 Thomas Gant will be debuting after his September 2025 submission victory on Dana White Contender Series, and the 33-year-old Thomas Gant has finished 10 of his 11 professional victories, and so I think he's someone to keep your eyes on this card that isn't necessarily that stacked. He could be one of those diamond in the rough type of fighters and performers. So I want to turn the discussion over to you. What are your predictions for that main event between Melquizael Costa and Arnold Allen? What are your predictions for that ranked matchup in the women's bantamweight division between Vieira and Cavalcanti? And what are some of the other fights on this card that you are looking forward to? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Every single week I break down the biggest and best fights and storylines heading into each card. In the aftermath, I recap the most meaningful results, and I give my thoughts and opinions on MMA news and fight announcements. You can also join the community on social media at Verbal Spar MMA on X, Instagram, and TikTok, as well as like the Facebook page Verbal Sparring MMA, and you can follow along on your favorite audio listening platforms such as Spotify and Apple, where every Monday and Friday podcast episodes release there. Have a great weekend, enjoy the fights, and I will see you all in the next video.